Well, very good morning and welcome to China Day. I'm always pleased to return to Cannes. Cannes is such a great place for people that goes after creativity and innovation, especially this year when Tencent is honored to be given the opportunity to host such a marvelous event, the signature events of China Day planned by China Advertising Association. You know, every single time when I attend such festival, especially Cannes, and I'm always fascinated by the stature, the lights, the sounds, and more importantly, the sheer volumes of impacts, creativity that's really flowing and dancing in the floors next to the ocean. But life is such that one of the constant things that we always face, occasionally, we find fascinations on one moment, and then of course you'll be very much caught up by the unfortunate frustrations that you face in life. And as fascinating as this festival could be, I'm sure some of us here would probably have experienced the unfortunate experience whereby you thought that award was coming to you, but then your competitor agency has just grabbed it and just moved away. Well, under the same token, if I may, I suspect that we should definitely add technology as one of the what they call the thingies within that phase of frustrations when we talk about endeavors in China. Because after all, technology could be very, very simultaneously enthralling and of course aggravating as well. Fascinations and frustrations, you check your map, they are both 9 words, 9 characters starting with a big character F, often go hand in hand. For a large part of our Western audience, investors and whatnot, China seems to amplify such ambidexterities of compositions, of combinations, if you like. Since the economy was opened up years back, no country has been more alluring to business propositions, opportunities, yet many are still finding their pathways in the path of frustrations as they attempt to capitalize on such fascinations and attempts given by that big, vast piece of land. If I may be blunt, however, that the biggest frustrations for all going forward when we engage that market would definitely be very much technologically related. And yet, the beauty of such things is that the moments of frustrations are offset often by the vast opportunities within such unlimited possibilities. Technology, let it be light. Right. So fascinations, frustrations, loving or hating it, and China is one big objective and goal that none of us could really escape, and it's one place that we shouldn't avoid, and let's find ways to engage it. I guess that's the purpose of our audience that you are here today. Now, let's start by focusing our attentions on some of the key facts, and such key facts would then set the stage for our panel discussion later. Fact, China today is the world's largest mobile market and is still growing fast. As of December last year, in China, we have a population of 731 million internet users, almost equal to the entire populations of Europe. Now, you might know this, I'm sure some of us here are aware about such facts, but what you might not really know would be that 95% of such internet populations are accessing the internet via one form or another, types of mobile devices. And that makes China into the world's largest mobile nations today. 50% of China's populations, or humongous numbers of 695 million people today, utilizes a mobile phone to access internet. That number has a huge implications on consumerism, on how consumers would behave today, tomorrow, and the day after, and more importantly, it kind of decides how companies ought to consider their strategies in China. Fact, the world's most mobile lifestyles in China today is nurturing the emergence of many industries that were never familiar in the past. No jargons have explained that. Now, compared to the internet infrastructures and internet cultures of many countries around the world, China's mobile internet is much more robust and mature. The population, the users, they use their smartphones at almost anything. our favorite program and apps we call WeChat, we have more than, it's like 930 million monthly active users that uses WeChat averagely 90 minutes in a day. See, this is China's unique strength when it comes to developing its economy, for mobility has become the new driver of productivity, the new engines of growth, and the new framework for advancing that country into a knowledge-based digital economy. I think that's a China that we are talking about today. China's position as the world's largest mobile industry has indeed nurtured the emergence of many new industry constructs, in which all of us here, if we do have a presence in China, there's no way that you can escape from such operations. Now, nowhere else is that mobile e-commerce is so prosperous, that key opinion leader segment so prevalent and influential, and not to mention the incredible growth rates of industries such as online video segment, the automobile and the bicycle sharing economies blossoming as the new generations of mobile devices and services keep taking place in that land. Well, indeed, China's strength in that mobile arena has transformed this country from a trend follower of the past to a trendsetter into the future. And finally, fact, a nation that has been transformed due to the unleashing power of connectivity. And that's a big statement. Last year, if any one of us has followed the publish of the so-called National GDP report, you would realize that more than 30.61% of China's total GDP is now one way or another related to the outputs of digital sector. That makes China the fastest growing rate in the world in terms of digital economy. Now, obviously, that driving force behind such connectivity empowered by the mobile internet, and it definitely impacts China's real economy, and as a result of that, accelerates its digital transformation. In China, we simply have one word for it, and such transformation is called Internet Plus. I know some of us here might have heard about such words, Internet Plus, but let me assure you that this is no buzzword that's going to come and go like fashions in Milan, because the policy of Internet Plus is one that has and will have a perpetuate lifespan, because it empowers every infrastructure that redefines the building blocks of a new growth engine, a new growth era that will transform China into a leading digital nation. Now, that transformation today towards the digital nation permeates virtually every segment of the society, every behaviors of consumerism, even down to the way that factories, organizations are going to be structured going forward. In short, this country, digital is the normal, not the new normal. It is the normal. So you see, it's easy to be fascinated by China, and I could go on and on, you know. The problem is that everybody wanted to have a piece of pie. I guess that's where the frustrations begins. Well, many companies may be frustrated by their effort in navigating that terrain of this new digital nation, and then engaging the burgeoning digital generations as we speak. But frustrations aside, we all agree that that phenomena that's happening in such a diverse and ambidexterity manner have created huge opportunities for industries such as media and advertising. Many wonders that what might be the key areas that would further shape the metamorphosis of such change that's going forward, and what might be the useful key insights that actually worked for us to try to tackle such challenges of digital economy. Well, if there was one single keyword that I thought all of us here could consider taking away today, it would simply be this. I'd like us to consider that perhaps the mindset of engaging China should be elevated to the macro perspectives of digital economy and not just the conventional go-to-market strategic level. There again, I'm not a teacher, but today, with the remaining time, I would love to share with you what we see as the simple ABC of this new world, if it does help. So A for not Apple, but for artificial intelligence. Well, you heard about AIs through your entire Cannes experience this time around. This is like only the second or third day. But I'm telling you, it's going to be here for stay. And last week, I was in Paris prior to coming over to Cannes, attending the Viva Tech conference. The night before the conference, our dear friends from McKinsey organized a working dinner involving some of the top-notch CEOs. CEO and chairman of Google was there, and investors and policy makings, including the former Secretaries of State of the United States, Mr. John Kerry was there during the night. See, McKinsey used that occasion to make us work. It was a working dinner, right? So the occasion was one that was positioned to release McKinsey's latest global analysis on the global trend regarding artificial intelligence. Although I realized that China didn't quite feature prominently in the report, but I somehow feel for sure that the next wave of technological change, technological innovation to impact China and possibly the world is somewhat related to AI. Now, this shouldn't be surprising to some of us, probably all of us here, because given that China today generates the largest amount of data in forms of chat, pictures, visuals, dialogue, and whatsoever. And that daily volumes of digital data is the fundamental foundations of how AI could be explored into the world. This fact alone provides positions China as a single largest advantage of AI research as well as development going forward. And of course, Tencent back in China, in our headquarters in Shenzhen, we have hundreds of top-notch PhDs, doctors, researchers, engineers working on both the basic fundamental research pertaining to artificial intelligence as well as area with applications. Now, do be assured that our main players from China, be it Baidu, Alibaba, or Xiaomi and whatnot, such dear players, major internet companies in China, they are certainly not lagging behind. They all are simply spurred on by great efforts by the Chinese government, whose vision is to build this nation into the world's leading AI powerhouse. Just think about what sort of disruptions and potential innovations will be generated by the consumption landscape in China. Well, again, this isn't a baseless speculation. Cisco, very recently, 2 weeks or so, maybe 3, has released one of their latest findings saying that in 5 years, machines talking to one another will be the internet's primary traffic. Wow. Question, what percentage of that machine talking to one another will be from China? I say a large percentage. See, the eras of the Internet of Things, IoT, arrived definitely much earlier than the way that we have anticipated. And AI in China would be one of the national drivers, so to speak. B for big data, you know this. Now, data is the new strategic resources for the digital economy. And I would even go one step further by saying that data shall be the ultimate competitive advantage for any nation, for any operations, for any organizations, or even for individuals. If you have that performance so-called characteristics with regards to data, you stand out. You have heard enough about such experts' opinions. I'm not going to waste your time and our intelligence by dwelling into something such manner. But what I do want to highlight is simply this. What is the actual status? What is the actual scenarios of digitalizations of companies in China? Well, to find out, we actually spoke to spectrums, multiples of clients, and then other knowledgeable sources whereby people share a lot of behind the scenes, the kitchen stories with us out of confidence, and about how major companies internationally and domestically have adopted data into their operations. This is interesting. We found that digitalization has indeed been adopted receive the highest levels of attention. And I'm talking about the C-suites and the board level. Well, however, the utilizations of data is still occurring at the lower levels of commercial operations. Well, that also to us, it basically means it's a huge opportunity going forward. This is not surprising, largely because companies still face the challenges, clear and present danger and clear and present challenges defined, presented by data silos and data integrations, which maybe that's due to the operational realities in China. They're indeed clear and present danger, and I'm sure that our panelists later on would delve more into such a subject. And finally, if I may, C for cloud computing, which in our opinion is a very first step moving towards a AI-empowered future organizations. Ma Hua-ten, our beloved chairman, Pony Ma has said that the futures of companies lies in their abilities to process big data on the cloud with artificial intelligence. Cloud companies are trending not only in China, I'm sure in Europe, in countries such as the UK, France, your new president wanted to be a startup nation, and Germany as well. See, such companies, the core DNAs of such companies, they focus on segmented areas where they then share such productivity with other ecosystem players and subsequently allowing such organizational structures to be improvised and to become increasingly flat and light. We believe that in that digital era, the consumptions of cloud will then be the key metrics in measuring the status of the economy of the state rather than the consumptions of electricity, which we are very familiar, which one that we inherited and we adopted during the last industrial age. So that is why I think many companies, Tencent included, oh, by the way, Tencent has got this thing called Tencent Cloud Business Unit, which is becoming such an important strategic business operation because we see the significant value represented as the initial step for companies embracing the world of algorithm, the world of deep learning, the world of artificial intelligence and whatnot, and God knows what kind of new terms that people are coming up with. Engineers, you know. Well, far from simple, those are the ABCs of what would be the navigation directions for China's digital economy. Now, before I invite the panel on stage, I felt that this small opening kind of is incomplete if I don't talk on the topic of marketing. Really not because marketing was getting more momentum or more important than ever, but largely because marketing has received such controversial discussion and is facing crisis of survival in many, many countries. Some of us here even have so-called relinquished the role of CMO from the organizational structure. Quote, I like to believe that the essence of marketing remains relevant. And however, the focus of marketing must and will evolve from the big idea to big data and from precision marketing onwards to predictive marketing. That is the only way to embrace this opportunity to maximize the quest for the holy grails of marketing, as artificial intelligence is ultimately the force that will drive the evolution into the future. And this future is not exactly too far from today. It must be so because in that digital era, the future of marketing that we know it today must empower us to connect with millions of users, not only on the internet itself, but within the new world of the Internet of Things, IoT. The focal point of marketing has to shift from pure insight discovery to one that is internet operations centric. And I hope our panel later will enlighten us with more discussion on this nature. Well, so in closing, hundreds of years has gone by, the material goods and wealth of China fascinated the world, and fortunes were made in Central Asia, Middle East, and as well as in Africa. Now, we can see that China is again at the very dawn of the next ever brighter future, and its full potentials represents the greatest growth opportunities that the world have ever seen. We all know that. Now, certainly there's also lots of frustrations, like the way they've described it, and that are being accompanied by fascination. But I honestly, work in partner in a great firm in China for the past 21 years, I continue to believe that frustrations are only a small bumps that we have to go through. There are lots of so-called frustrations that will accompany our fascinations, and such things will be the bumps that we have to go through as in our road to future success. Moving on to the next panel, which I think each of the panelists were very carefully selected as they play their influential roles within their own industry, and they will share with you real-life stories about how China engage such transformation. And I hope that kind of experience will be fascinating to you. Now, without further ado, let me kindly invite Kiki, the General Manager of Tencent's Online Media Group, with her distinguished groups of panelists. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.